This is 9 News with Jayne Azzopardi.
Good afternoon. We begin with breaking news. The fierce fighting between Israel and Hamas is right now poised to end in Gaza after an agonising ceasefire delay. And if it all goes to plan, in the coming hours, 13 Israeli hostages taken on October 7, all of them women and children, will be the first of 50 to be freed as part of a long negotiated truce. Here's Europe correspondent Edward Godfrey.
The delay goes to show just how complex and delicate this arrangement is, but this truce, this temporary pause commencing a short time ago, 7 a.m. local time in Israel, fighting to pause now for 4 days, but it has remained intense in the lead up to the deadline. Later on, in the middle of the night, Australian time, the first hostages will be released by Hamas. We're told 13 women and children of a total of 50 who will be released over the 4-day pause. Hamas will be keen to keep the hostages' location in Gaza a secret from Israel. The IDF knows who they'll be and has told their families, but the IDF will also be keen to learn from them all they can about where they've been kept. A Qatari spokesperson has confirmed details of the truce.
We have just finished with all the communication with all parties in order to ascertain the lists of those civilians who will be freed as a result of the deal agreed upon by both parties.
Once the hostages are released, the first of 150 Palestinian prisoners will be released by Israel as part of this exchange deal. We've also seen former UK Prime Minister David Cameron, now Lord Cameron in the role of Foreign Secretary, visit Israel. He toured the southern village of Be'eri, one of the numerous kibbutzes attacked on October 7 by Hamas. While there, he reiterated the importance of this humanitarian pause in fighting. The IDF has also arrested the director of Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza. It says he's been taken for questioning over what it calls extensive Hamas activity within the hospital on his watch.
Back home, and hundreds of students across Sydney have gathered in the CBD, brandishing flags and countless posters in support of the Palestinian people. Skipping school despite calls from politicians not to, the teenagers are calling for an end to the conflict in the Middle East.
Generation after generation to total liberation. Okay, if that means I have to take 2 hours out of my day to protest for my people that are dying, I will take those time. I will take that time to protest. And I will take that time to say that this child deserves to be educated. This child deserves to live.
Hundreds of students in Melbourne skipped school for the same cause yesterday. There's been a scare at Sydney's Jewish Museum this afternoon. Police and fire crews called in after a suspicious package was delivered to the site at Darlinghurst. It contained a threatening letter and a granulated substance which spilled upon opening. Hazmat crews have cleared the scene, but police are now investigating. New details have now emerged about just how 12 asylum seekers managed to land undetected in remote Western Australia. Let's bring in federal politics reporter Reece D'Alessandro. Reece, Border Force officials and the government, though, are remaining tight-lipped.
They are, Jane, but we now understand of the 12 people who made it to shore in this very remote part of the Kimberley region, 8 were found by workers at the Mungalalu Truscott Air Base, 4 others getting lost, it's understood, on their trek from a nearby barge ramp where they're believed to have made landfall. That ramp is used to supply remote communities during the wet season. We understand there is no sign of a shipwreck there, suggesting the 12 may have been dropped off.
Humidity, heat, rain at this time of the year, crocodiles, snakes. It's a pretty challenging place to be wandering around without any really good local knowledge.
All 12 have now been accounted for, but this incident has proven Australia's long-running Operation Sovereign Borders is not impregnable. Border Force won't confirm any of those details, saying it doesn't comment on operational matters. That's a long-standing practice that started under the previous coalition government, who are today calling for transparency from the current government.
This is the 10th such vessel that the government's had to deal with, but the one that's been in the public's mind because it's made it to the coastline. So they'll be scrambling at the moment.
The government will process these arrivals and they will be deported. That's been settled policy in Australia now for a long time, and talking about it and exaggerating its impact is precisely what the people smugglers want.
This follows a difficult fortnight for the Home Affairs Minister. Claire O'Neill's been dealing with a High Court decision to release indefinitely detained asylum seekers, even those accused of serious crimes. She's pretty well gone to ground today, Jayne, leaving other ministers to reiterate the government's position on our borders, which is those who seek to come here by boat will be turned back or resettled elsewhere. Jayne?
Reece, thank you. The government has been ordered to pay the legal costs of a Sri Lankan cricketer cleared of raping a Sydney woman in November last year. Danushka Ganathalaka was acquitted of sexually assaulting a woman by an act of stealthing while in Sydney for the T20 World Cup. Western Australia's Premier is cutting short his trade trip to China, returning to Perth this afternoon as emergency crews continue to battle raging bushfires. As Jamie Freestone reports, authorities are now conducting patrols to stop looting.
In some good news, we've just heard at a community meeting that the fire size has stabilised overnight. It's the third day straight that firefighters have been working to control this blaze, and emergency and watch and act warnings remain in place. The fire size is around 2,000 hectares with a 60-metre perimeter. So far, 10 properties have been confirmed destroyed, but that number is likely to increase as fire and emergency services officers conduct property assessments. Some people work through the night to save their property.
Just as my guys left yesterday, last night, it flared up and the fire exit as just for that moment a little bit further away. So I was on my own and I thought, OK, this is it.
Other homeowners haven't been so lucky. They've got word that their homes are gone, but it's not safe enough for them to go and see the damage at this stage. About 30 people stayed overnight at the Quinns Rocks Evacuation Centre. Dozens more are now taking advantage of self-contained accommodation at the Centre for National Resilience, built during the pandemic but used for the first time during this fire emergency. Authorities will continue to work throughout the day to clear hazards and try to restore power to homes outside the fire zone, but with around 100 power poles damaged, the community has been warned it could be 2 weeks for that restoration to occur. A resident today raised concerns about looting the area. Police are conducting patrols to allay those fears. With very hot temperatures still in store over the next few days, residents are being warned that the firefight will continue and they should keep up to date with the latest warnings on the Emergency WA website.
Violence has erupted on the streets of Dublin following a stabbing attack.